You can start, Shashank.
Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Just confirm me once that my voice is clear. Just mention yes in comments so that we can start this session. People are joining in. Good morning, Rajshekharan. All is set. Okay. Great. So we are good to go. Coming to the first question. Just go through the statements. Which of the following statements about Law Commission of India are incorrect? We have to identify incorrect statements. Okay. It is a statutory body constituted by Government of India. First of all, you should know, if we talk about government bodies, on the basis of their establishment, they can be categorized into three types. One is constitutional body. It means that body is mentioned in Constitution. For example, Election Commission of India. For example, UPSC. Okay, so there are specific articles. Article 324, Election Commission. So this is a constitutional body. Then second type is statutory body. As name suggests, body which is formed by some parliamentary statute. I use the parliamentary statute. It means that body is made by some law. Means there's an act. For example, NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, NHRC. So NHRC can be termed as a statutory body because it was formed as per Protection of Human Rights Act. Okay, that's a statutory body. Now question is, Law Commission, it's a statutory body or not? It's not a statutory body. There's a third type, which is executive body. It means a body which is formed by some executive decision. Now, what is executive decision? You can simply remember, our cabinet has this power that they can adopt a resolution, discuss and sign a resolution for making a particular government body. For example, Niti Aayog, it's an executive body. Like Niti Aayog is an executive body, it is not mentioned in Constitution. There's no parliamentary act for that. On similar lines, Law Commission is also a statutory body. So question is asking incorrect. So since this is saying it is a statutory body, no, it's not a statutory body. Law Commission is an executive body because it is formed by executive decision of union government. It means cabinet take this decision. So that is why this option is incorrect. Okay. Second is, Law Commission undertakes research in law and review of existing law only on the basis of reference made to it by central government. So second statement, by this word, it seems correct. Review of existing law, research in law. But when this statement is saying on the basis of a reference made to it by the central government, and the word is only. So wherever in polity UPSC uses the word only, you should be extra cautious. This statement is incorrect because there are some arenas where Law Commission go beyond this ambit. Okay, although whichever case is referred to Law Commission by central government to discuss, to research on it and to advise central government on it, Law Commission do that. Okay, but there are times when Supreme Court also refer certain matters to Law Commission to research on it and give some suggestions. Although Law Commission is an advisory body to Ministry of Law and Justice, and since I'm saying it is an advisory body, its recommendations are not binding in nature. Okay, so you should also know the functions of Law Commission. I'm going to discuss it. Let's go to third statement. The first law commission was established following the Charter Act of 1833. Yes, this statement is correct. Okay. So by this means, statement 1 is correct. I have told you it's an executive body, not non-constitutional, non-statutory. Statement 2 is incorrect. I have told you it's not only limited to, means suo motu actions, suo motu research can also be taken up. Okay. Statement 3 is correct. Okay, this is a factual statement. By Charter Act 1833, Law Commission was formed in 1834, the next year. Okay. Now coming to the functions. Functions of the Law Commission. As of now, you got this, that it's an executive body made by central government. Okay. You got this point. It is an advisory body to Ministry of Law. You got this, Ministry of Law and Justice. You have also you have also cleared on this point that recommendations are not binding. Okay. Now coming to the functions. First is review and repeal of obsolete law. Now what is this? Law Commission was formed in 1834 by the Act of Charter Act 1833. So if we look at the present criminal codes, for example, Indian Penal Code, if we look Indian Evidence Act, if we look over the criminal procedures, so all of these codifications are product of those law commissions which were there before India got independence. During debate of Constitution Assembly, there were some members who were saying that there should be a central law commission which should recommend to repeal those laws which were made by Britishers and now they're not required. So in this light, a decision was taken that this law commission will continue. Okay, this will be an executive body, and now this law commission will also function on this arena. It means this law commission is going to review, okay, this law has been in India since 100 years, but now things are changing. So that's why this law should be repealed, means it should be removed from our statutes. So law commission can give such recommendation to central government, and central government can take such recommendation to parliament to repeal such law. Okay, so in this chain, this work can start from law commission. Okay, so UPSC can also make statement on the functions of law commission. That is why I'm having this discussion with you. Okay, law and poverty. So law commission also look into socio-economic laws, means those laws which have social and economic implications. It also recommend to government to how to make certain laws so that poverty can be reduced. For example, you all know that after getting independence, a major task before our prominent leaders of that time was that redistribution of resources. You can take example of redistribution of land, removal of zamindari, right? So don't you think that particular step needed a legal backing, and that law should be so clear that its chances to get stay by some court decision should be minimized? So in that area, law commission come into play. Okay, so law commission also work as a link between some proactive laws to diminish poverty. Okay, now suggesting new legislations to implement directive principles. You all know that in our constitution, directive principles itself represent certain ideals which present government and government of the future should uphold, that they should make certain policies as per these ideals. So in this aspect, suggestions of law commissions are also important. It also conduct researches, and when I say research, it also research on some legal frameworks of other nations. For example, if Finland has made certain amendments in their own law, but if Law Commission think that they have made this amendment, they have changed something in their legal framework, but these kind of laws can also be beneficial for India, then they conduct such researches, how they can be beneficial for India. They conduct field study. Okay, then they recommend to central government. Next, examine the pre-existing laws for gender equality. In past 1.5 years, there were many incidents in Indian polity where you got to know that our Supreme Court, even our union government, has taken certain actions to, promote gender equality. For example, triple talaq. For example, adultery law, right? So these kind of laws, okay, on these areas, Law Commission also functions. Okay, so these are the broad functions of Law Commission. UPSC can make statement on these functions, so do remember this. Okay, there's one another statement. Okay, when I'm saying research, so nowadays Law Commission also has one prominent function. This Law Commission works on studying the impacts of globalization on our society, on our environment. Many of you might think that Law Commission has to do everything. Law Commission should be focused on law. Why they're talking about globalization and its impact on society, its impact on environment? The reason is, when we talk about globalization and it is impacting our society, it means our polity, our political structure, our laws should come into play to minimize any ill effect. So that is why Law Commission is also working in that particular area. Okay, if you got this, just mention confirm in comments, then I'm going to move ahead. Confirm in comments. Hurry up. Okay, you got this. Next question is, consider the following statements about National Human Rights Amendment Act. First statement is, it provides that a person who has been a judge of Supreme Court or the Chief Justice of High Court will be the chairperson of NHRC. Okay. So whenever you start reading a statement kind of question, okay, so just focus on this word, that if question is asking correct or incorrect. Okay. So before going to the second statement, just go through this. Okay. The demand is correct. Identify the correct statement. Now, first statement is, it provides that a person who has been a judge of Supreme Court or the Chief Justice of High Court will be chairperson of NHRC. This statement is incorrect, because as per the amendment, what was the earlier position? Earlier position was only an ex-CJI can be appointed as chairperson of NHRC. Okay, but now after amendment, a judge, retired judge of Supreme Court can also be appointed, but there is no mention of Chief Justice of High Court. As a person, this person can also be appointed as NHRC. It is not mentioned. Okay, so that is why this statement is incorrect. Second is, it provides the chairperson of National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, means NCPCR. Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities will be ex officio members of NHRC. Yes, this statement is correct. In this amendment, what government did, what government proposed and Parliament finally did, that they have added 3 more positions of ex officio member. So 2 are NCPCR and Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, and 1 is National Commission for Backward Classes chairperson. Okay. It reduces the term of office of the members to 3 years or till the age of 70 years. Yes, this is correct. So answer is 2 and 3. So statement 1 is incorrect. You got the reason, because Chief Justice of Supreme Court or a judge of Supreme Court will be chairperson of NHRC. No mention of Chief Justice of High Court. Second statement is correct. I've told you third statement is correct. Now you should remember certain points. For example, When we use this word human right, okay, it is an open-ended, kind of discussion. What can be called human right? But when we talk about law should be specific. Okay, so that's why an attempt has been made to define human rights within Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Under Section 2 of the Act, human rights has been defined as the rights relating to life, liberty, equality, and dignity of the individual guaranteed by the Constitution. Okay, guaranteed by the Constitution, or embodied in the international covenants and enforceable by the courts of India. Okay, so those covenants means those rules which give certain definition to human rights can also be considered as human right by NHRC. So what point you got? The point is, if Indian law has defined certain definitions of human right, although I've said it is an open-ended thing, but if we have categorized, then NHRC is not limited to that. Okay, if international covenants are saying something else, then this can also be used within the definition of human rights. Okay. Apart from this, what you should remember, NHRC is an independent statutory body, while statutory body, Protection of Human Rights Act made by Parliament. Okay, that is why statutory body, headquartered in New Delhi. To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. A famous quote by Nelson Mandela, you can use in essay or some answer. It is a watchdog of human rights in the country. Now, remember this. This kind of fact can be used in a statement. It was established in conformity with Paris Principles, adopted for the promotion and protection of human rights in Paris, October 1990. Date is not important. Endorsed by General Assembly of the United Nations. Okay, so remember this, Paris Principles are related to NHRC. Going to next question. With reference to official language in India, consider the following statements. First is, all proceedings in the Supreme Court in every High Court in India shall be in English language. Governor has the power to allow for the use of any local language in High Court of the state, of that state. So why we have asked this question in this test? Because last year, Haryana government recommended to Governor of Haryana that ask for the consent of President to introduce Hindi as official language of Haryana Punjab High Court, that is based in Chandigarh. So many of you might think, okay, that's a fact. What is the issue inside? So there's an issue. So there was an article. Let's go to the article first. So this article was in Indian Express and title was The Language of Justice. Haryana government's move to implement Hindi as official language in Punjab Haryana High Court will have sweeping effect on justice administration system. Sweeping effect. What effect it is going to have? The effect is, as of now, if we talk about higher judiciary, it means we talk about high courts and Supreme Court. This kind of uniformity there. When I say uniformity, it means if someone is Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court, that is High Court of UP, then this person can be transferred. Then this justice can be transferred to Madras High Court, Bombay, anywhere, right? Across India. So that's how transfers of judges are done at the level of High Court. Now, there's an issue. Issue is, if other states also start demanding, for example, Tamil Nadu was demanding that Tamil should be official language of Madras High Court. So what is going to happen? The challenge would be, if a judge is from, say, Allahabad High Court, okay, and throughout his career, he has been to Uttarakhand, say Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, and now transferred to Tamil Nadu. their language is Tamil. So it may hinder the adjudication process of that justice. As of now, uniformity is there due to English language. Because no matter what is official language, English language is prominent. So all the decisions, all the discussions will be in English language. Although there are some high courts, for example, UP, they have adopted this. But there is contention that Supreme Court and even Parliament should review this. Okay? Because it may hinder the process of adjudication. If some judges are transferred across, so it is needful because this is one India. Okay? So either you train those people in those languages, okay, in higher judiciary. But the point is, some legal luminary says that if we talk about multiple interpretations of some judgment, bylaws, rules, this is time-taking process. Plus, there are scope of ambiguity. 2 points I've said: time-taking process and scope of ambiguity in interpretation of that law if you convert to other languages in a short span of time. So due to this, there was an issue. Okay. So this issue can be considered important from Main's perspective. Okay. But now statement 1 is correct, because as per Article 348 of Indian Constitution, all proceedings in the Supreme Court and in every High Court, the authoritative text like bill, X, I'm using the word authoritative text. Okay, I'm not talking about that if some convict or some witness is there, they're not bound to talk in English language. By due permission, they can talk in their mother tongue. There can be translation. But when we talk about bills, acts, rules, bylaws, ordinance, etc., shall be in English language. To bring uniformity in India's judiciary. Okay, that is why this was mentioned in Article 348. Okay, in Article 348, this was clause 1. Within clause 2, there was another definition, another point. Point was, governor of a state may, with the previous consent of the president, do remember this line, with the previous consent of the president, this is necessary, authorize the use of Hindi language or any other language used in any official purpose of the state in proceedings in the High Court having its principal seat in the state. Okay, so governor has this power, but what is needed? Previous consent of president. So that is why both statements are correct. If you got this, just mention confirm. Coming to the next question. That's an easier one, but don't know how many of you got tricked in first statement. With reference to the mercy provisions in Indian Constitution, consider the following statements. 1. Mercy power of governor of the state does not extend to death penalty. And we have to identify the correct. The president and governors exercise mercy powers on the advice of Council of Ministers. So most students think that first statement is correct. And you know why they make this mistake? Because in their notes, in their book, they have read pardoning power of governor of state does not extend to death penalty. The word is pardoning power. And question is asking mercy position. So in back of the mind, they think, okay, ye to pada hua hai. We know this. Okay, ye to theek hai. But this statement is incorrect. Why? Because when we talk about mercy power, we also talk about reprieve, commutation, respite. So mercy powers of governors are there with respect to death penalty, but not pardoning power. When I use the word pardoning power means you are saying to that person who is convicted, who is having this death penalty, Judge Simran ji le apni zindagi. You're saying, okay, you are free. You are absolved from all charges. That is pardoning. But the word here is mercy. Okay. Second statement is correct. Okay. Why second statement is correct? Although this is not clearly mentioned in our constitution that mercy powers, these powers, pardoning power, commutation, respite, reply, are discretionary or on the aid and advice of council minister. It is not written in constitution. Okay. But general tradition, which has been there, is that whenever a person wants to appeal before president, take example of president. Okay. So someone has got death penalty from Supreme Court, and now that person needs to appeal before president for mercy. So how that person can appeal? Do you think that person is going to present before honorable president, sir, pardon? No, that's not how things work. This person needs to send file to Home Ministry. Then Home Ministry is going to direct this file to President Office. And President Office is going to take decision or sit over this file. That is prerogative of President. Although recommendation of Council of Ministers, prominently Home Ministry, is vital here. Okay, this is how things work in actual manner. And that is why second statement is correct. I hope you got this. Just mention confirm if you got this. Mention confirm. Bhanu, Mohit, Rajshekharan, Sudarshan, Priti, Ashish. I hope you're clear with this. Yes, great. Now, with reference to Right to Information Act, consider the following statement. First statement, and first statement was a tricky one. I hope you like this question. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Office of Chief Justice of India are not exempted from RTI Act. Okay? You have to identify correct. Yes, Abhishek, it happens. That is why you are having this test series now. The mistakes you commit here are not going to be committed in exam. So that's a safety ball. Okay. Now, the appeal against the decision of Central Public Information Officer directly lies with Central Information Commission. Information commissioners are eligible for reappointment as Chief Information Commissioners. So why we ask this question? So it was in news that Chief Justice of India, Office of Chief Justice of India, has two functions. One is judiciary function, and another is administrative function. Because there's a Secretariat of Supreme Court also. So when we talk about this Secretariat of Supreme Court, this administrative function of Chief Justice of India, that comes under RTI. That was part of news. Okay. So we thought if we make this particular statement, so many of you might guess, okay, ye to pata hai, this was in news. So we are very fond of, making some statements tricky as UPSC, ask. So that is why we add these things: Army, Navy, Air Force. Okay. So when someone sees this Army, Navy, Air Force, and then what is not exempted from RTI? No, they should be exempted. The first response in students' mind is they should be exempted, because Army, Navy, Air Force, they are security establishment. How can someone file RTI over to some office of Army or Navy? Because they are security establishment. There are some crucial informations over there, right? So by this premise, the student thinks, and that is why you commit mistake. So for me, this question is beautiful. Okay. So if you have attempted this test, you are definitely going to, add some value, and you're not going to mark this question wrong in prelims. So statement one is correct. Statement one is correct. It means Army, Navy, Air Force are not exempted from RTI Act, but portion of their work is exempted from RTI. But if we talk about as a force, as an organization, they're not exempted. And the fun part is bodies like, organizations like, I would say forces like BSF, CAPF, ITBP, CRPF, whom we call Central Armed Police Force, they are exempted. So many people are going to make this mistake if this question came, but you are not going to make this mistake. As per section 24 of RT Act, there are some security and intelligence organizations which are exempted from this act. Okay. Although some organizations such as Border Security Force, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, ITBP, CRPF, Assam Rifles, etc. are exempted from the said section. They're exempted from the said section. The armed forces to this day stand non-exempted, means they're not exempted. Also, Supreme Court has held that Supreme Court as well as officer of CGI are public authority, hence non-exempted from the act. Okay, so remember this, some functions which are related to security and intelligence are exempted. Okay. Second statement is incorrect. The appeal against decision of Central Public Information Officer or State Public Information Officer lies to such officer who is senior in rank to Central Public Information Officer or at state, as the case may be. In each public authority respectively, second appeal lies with CIC, SIC. It means if we talk about Central Public Information Officer, if you need to file an appeal, so that will be said first appeal. That will be called first appeal. The first appeal would be with a senior officer. It means there is some, let me take example. For example, we're talking about cabinet secretary. Okay. So if you talk about cabinet consists of all, all ministries which are having this status of cabinet. And there's one cabinet secretary who coordinates. Okay, is the topmost bureaucrat of India. But if we file RTI over to this office, so there will be a PI, Public Information Officer. Okay, if we talk about central government, there will be a CPI, Central Public Information Officer. If you're not satisfied with the information that is furnished here, then you can file first appeal to that person's senior officer. Okay, for example, cabinet secretary here. But if you're not satisfied there also, then second appeal can go to CIC and at the level of state, SCIs. Okay. Statement 3 is correct. As per section 13 of the Act, information commissioners are not eligible for reappointment to the same office, but there can be appointed as CIC. It means if you're an information commissioner, you have completed your tenure, then you cannot be, made information commissioner again, but you can be appointed as CIC. Okay. Next is Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill 2020, which was recently new. That was an interesting update. So first statement, first of all, you need to identify correct. First statement is the amendment has added public servants to this list of prohibited entities to accept foreign contribution. I hope all of you know why this act was made, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Because government needs to regulate how much fund is coming from foreign land into India towards some NGO or some group. So for some social activities, we should know from where this fund is coming and how this fund is used. Okay, because it should not be used against our government. It should not be used against India. Okay, so we need to regulate this. So government made certain amendment, and in that amendment, it is added that public servants cannot accept foreign contribution. For example, consider that Abhishek is a district magistrate of, say, Ahmedabad. Okay. And in this COVID crisis, Abhishek thought, because I am the district magistrate the health administration of this district is under my prerogative, and there is a scarcity of oxygen cylinders and other relevant medicines. So what Abhishek thought, why not take help from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Bill Gates is an old friend. He came to Ahmedabad and it was Abhishek who arranged all the things. So Abhishek thought, why not use this link? So Abhishek called up Bill Gates. Hey, Bill, so I'm in Ahmedabad and on the same position, and I need oxygen cylinders. Okay, and there's a company in South Africa which is agreeing to send some oxygen cylinders, but for buying, I'm not having a particular scheme. I'm not having a particular head in which there's some amount. So as a district magistrate, I'm not having any amount in government account specifically for spending on such activities. So Bill said, okay, you need not to worry. Last time when I came, you told me that your wife is having some NGO in Ahmedabad. Abhishek said, yes, she is having NGO. But I am also, patron in that or member in that, earlier days or something. So he said, okay, Abhishek, I am sending the money. So Abhishek, then this person is sending the money. So what happens? There are cases when, although government guidelines says that if you're a bureaucrat, you cannot be a member of such, organizations. Okay. But what happens sometimes, it is found that certain bureaucrats, take positions of patrons, members of certain NGOs for, some social activities. And if Bill Gates is sending some amount so that you can purchase oxygen cylinders from South Africa, although that's a good course, but you cannot do that because since you are a member, you're a public servant, and FCRA amendment has clearly mentioned that you cannot accept foreign contribution. Okay, if you want that money should come in your wife's NGO and you can purchase those, then first what you need to do, you need to absolve yourself from all the responsibilities and that NGO, any kind of attachment with that NGO. Also, you should intimate the government about such setup, how you are going to help in this crisis. Okay, if you get this permission, then you are okay to do that. Okay, the amendment completely prohibits the transfer of foreign contribution to any other person. So what government did as of now, government has said that there will be a separate FCRA account. First of all, you cannot take foreign contribution in current account, saving account, NRO account, NRE account. No, there will be a separate FCRA account. And the fun part is this FCRA account should be in SBI branch of Delhi. The first foreign contribution is going to come here. And then this foreign contribution can be spent in the way you mentioned. You cannot randomly transfer it. Okay, means Abhishek's wife got this contribution from Bill's foundation. Then she cannot, just send this money to Mohit or Sudarshan. And okay, they cannot send this money, like this. Indian seeking prior permission must provide Aadhaar number for registration. That is correct. So that's why all statements are correct. Okay, amendment adds public servants in this list. You should also remember that election candidates, editor, publisher of a newspaper, judges, government servants, member of any legislature are prohibited to accept any foreign contribution. UPSC can make statement in place of public servant. UPSC can use election candidate. Okay, if some of you fight member of parliament election in future, so can you take foreign contribution? No, you cannot. Statement 2 is correct. Under Act, foreign contribution cannot be transferred to any other person unless such person is also registered to accept foreign contribution. That person should be registered to accept foreign contribution. The amendment prohibits the transfer of foreign contribution to any other person. So statement 3 is correct. Amendment adds that any person seeking prior permission registration must provide the Aadhaar number of all its office bearers, directors. In case of a foreigner, they must provide a copy of passport, OCI card. That is all. Now, next question is, Consider the following statement. The president can appoint 2 Anglo-Indians in Lok Sabha in case of lack of their representation. And we have to identify incorrect. This statement is incorrect. Okay. Why? Because as per 104th Constitutional Amendment Act, Parliament has not extended the timeline for continuing this reservation in Parliament and state legislative assemblies. Because in Lok Sabha, there were 2 seats reserved for Anglo-Indians to be nominated by Honorable President. At the level of state, earlier, state legislative assemblies had 1 seat reserved for Anglo-Indians to be nominated by Governor on the advice of Council of Ministers of State, and at the level center, Council of Ministers of Union. Okay, but now this has been finished. This case has been finished, so that is why the statement is incorrect. The term Anglo-Indian is clearly defined. The word is defined in Indian Constitution. This statement is correct. Yes, it is clearly defined. Okay, so if I ask, who is Anglo-Indian? So, and why this provision was made in the start? The reason was, when India was getting independence, you all know that the Indian subcontinent, where we stand as an India, there were many people of European descendants who were living here. To give them certain kind of protection after India get independence, this provision was made. Constitution defines Anglo-Indian. First of all, this is incorrect. Constitution defines Anglo-Indian. An Anglo-Indian means a person whose father or any of whose other male progenitors in the male line is or was of European descent, but who is domiciled within the territory of India, is or was born within such territory of parents habitually resident therein and not established there for temporary purpose only. Have you heard about Mark Tully? For a long part of his career, he was heading BBC in India, British Broadcasting Service in India, a renowned journalist. So he was an Anglo-Indian. So his father was European, but as India got independent, their family took this decision that we are going to stay in India. Okay, so he was in India. So I don't know if he's alive or not. There's been a long time since any news. You can check about that. Okay, Mark Tully. With reference to consumer protection e-commerce rules to 2020, consider the following statements. Rules will be applicable only to those electronic retailers, e-tailers who are registered in India. You have to identify correct. एक तो होता है गलत, एक होता है सरासर गलत. ये सरासर है. Okay? Because any electronic retailer, even that retailer is registered outside India, but that retailer is serving to Indian consumers, then that e-retailer is going to come under Consumer Protection E-commerce Rules 2020. Okay. It will cover all goods sold online through the marketplace or inventory-led models. Yes. And what is the difference between marketplace and inventory-led models? If we take example of Amazon. So Amazon is a e-commerce site and it's a marketplace. When I say marketplace, it means it is possible that Raj Shekharan or Mohit or Abhishek, they have their shops. Okay, someone is having shop of stationery or clothes, clothing brand or something. Okay, then individually they can register themselves as at Amazon and they can sell their goods online through Amazon. That's a model of marketplace. But there are some inventory-led models also. Inventory-led models, it means, for example, Jabong. If you heard about Jabong, it is not in, quite popular nowadays, but it is popular once. So Jabong, what is Jabong's model? There's a brand and they have their own inventory of, all the articles which they sell on their, website. So that is inventory-led model. Okay. So both kind of models comes under the ambit of Consumer Protection E-commerce Rules 2020. Okay. It is compulsory to mention country of origin of goods and services by e-commerce entities. Yes. It is part of these rules. And why? Because so that as a consumer, we can make an informed choice. We can look, okay, this good is made in India. Let's take this. Okay, so that is why statement 2 is correct, statement 3 is correct, but statement 1 is not correct. Okay, so that is all from my side. If you got the discussion, just mention confirm. And now Talil sir is going to take the charge and he's going to go through sense and tech questions. Okay, so Shashank Tyagi signing off. Take care. Keep up with your good work.
Thank you, Shashank sir. Dimple and Kani here. It was a very insightful discussion. I would be taking questions from environment portion. Yes. So question number 21. Consider the following statements regarding Dibru-Sakhovaiya National Park. It has been recently declared as a mixed World Heritage Site. This is the first statement. It is a contiguous biosphere reserve between India and Bhutan. Maguri Motapung wetland is a part of this reserve. So when we actually see this question, we have to answer which statement is correct. So Dibru-Sakhovaiya National Park and mixed World Heritage Site. As Shashank said, कुछ चीजें गलत होती है, कुछ चीजें सरासर गलत होती है. So this is entirely wrong. In India, we have only one mixed heritage site, and that is the Kanchenjunga National Park. So this becomes entirely wrong. So 1, when you eliminate, we get B or C, that is 3 only, and 2 and 3 only. That means the third statement, Magori Motapung wetland is a part of reserve, is definitely correct. Now we have to see whether the second statement, is it a contiguous biosphere reserve between India and Bhutan, correct or not. So for this, you need to remember the locations of the national park. Generally in UPSC, many questions have actually tested the geographical knowledge or the place where it is situated of the student. So you need to have a picturesque memory for that. So what you can do is, you can see the national parks in Assam. I have generally pointed out the mnemonic at the National Park of Assam is काजी बोला दिब्रू से ओए नाम क्या है तेरा. So काजी is काजी रंगा, बोला is बोला दिब्रू से, so दिब्रू साखोवैया. Oe is Orang, Nam, it becomes Nameri, that is between Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. Kya hai tera? Kya is Kaziranga, tera is Pobitera. Pobitera Wildlife Sanctuary. So these are the national parks which are there in Assam. But remember the location also. So Dibru Sakhovaiya is bordering your Arunachal Pradesh and it is not bordering Bhutan. The Manas National Parks borders Bhutan. So not only the mnemonics, but also the geographical location of the national park becomes important. So that is why reading atlas becomes important. So from this knowledge, you can easily eliminate the statement 2 that Dibru Sakhovaiya does not borders Bhutan. Rather, it is the Manas that borders the Bhutan. Then we knew that the third statement was correct because the question was framed such. Still, I would like to throw some light on the statement 3. Maguri Motapung Bhil is a part of Biosphere Reserve. Bhil is a local name. A local reference is the lake. The lake in Assami language is Bhil. Okay, Magori Motapung is a part of the Biosphere Reserve. It derives its name from Magur. What is Magur? It is a local name for a catfish. Okay, this is the image so that you easily remember things. Whenever you see some diagram, some image, that information retains in your mind. So yes, this is the Maguri Motapung. Maguri is the catfish and Maguri Motapung is a part of the Dibru Sakhovaiya Biosphere Reserve. Right, so that with this information, you can easily answer this question. The answer here is the 3 only. Moving on to the next question. The next question, okay, some additional information about this Dibru Sakhovaiya. It is also an important bird area. This is a technical term that is generally used in environment, which is actually the habitat of the birds. So it is the habitat of the white winged wood duck. So this is white duck head. So white winged wood duck is also found in the Dibru-Sakhovaiya National Park. Coming on to the next question. The next question is about M-sand. M-sand refers to manufactured sand, right? This we generally use this term because of the excessive sand mining that take place in rivers. So excessive sand mining in rivers have certain disadvantages. UPSC has asked a question on sand mining. So taking the inspiration from that question, we have framed this question. With reference to the M-sand, consider the following statements. The first statement is it is made by recycling construction waste. The second statement is use of M-sand can help in improving groundwater level. We need to think on this statement. At present, M-sand is mostly used in Gangetic Plain in India. That is the third statement. So when we talk about M-sand, and we have to answer the question based on these statements. When I said that you have to think on the second statement, that is use of M-sand can help in improving groundwater level. This is a correct statement. And what is the linkages? What happens? Why have we created M-sand? We have created M-sand so that the natural sand can be preserved in the rivers. And we do not have to go for excessive sand mining from the rivers. So when we do not go for excessive sand mining and we use manufactured sand, that means we are preserving the sands in the rivers, which will better lead to improving the water level because the sand act as a filtration particle for the rainwater and actually increases the groundwater level below the ground. So that is why you need to develop the linkages and understanding between M-sand, sand mining, groundwater level, salinity, etc. So here the second statement is correct, right? When we talk of the first statement, how is M-sand manufactured? So people might get confused that yes, probably it is manufactured by using construction waste, recycling the construction waste, but it is not correct. The manufactured sand is basically nothing but an artificial sand that is basically created from crushing of the rocks. So it is not the recycled construction waste, but purely created for our purpose, right? You can also remember it as it man-made sand. M-sand, man-made sand, manufactured sand. So this the first statement becomes incorrect, right? The third statement, yes, the third statement also you need to think, and it is a very commonsensical statement that at present M-sand is mostly used in the Gangetic Plain in India. Understand, necessity is the mother of invention. So M sand वहां पे ज्यादा यूज होगी जहां पे नेसेसिटी होगी, राइट? वहीं ज्यादा मैन्युफैक्चर्ड करेंगे, वहीं ज्यादा यूज करेंगे. Like in Rajasthan, like in dry areas where there is no natural sand present. So in the Gangetic Plain, there is lot of natural sand present. So people do not go for M sand. So this becomes a blatantly wrong statement. Three, and if you eliminate three, you come at two possible thing, one and two only, and two only. Now when you know that one is incorrect, you arrive at the right answer, which is two only. Here the answer is two only. Coming on to the next question, question number 35. Consider the following statement with regard to Green AG project. This project has been in news since a long time, and it is expected that people would have a thorough understanding of this topic, Green AG project. Okay, this is nothing but green agriculture project, and the aim is to reduce the emission from agriculture. The first statement asks this. The second statements ask you about whether it is being implemented in the major green revolution belt of India. People might get confused if you do not have a thorough understanding of of this topic. And it is being funded by Green Climate Fund. So you might think, okay, one is correct and three is also correct. However, because the Green Climate Fund actually helps in financing those projects which reduce the emission from agriculture, but then there is no 1 2 3 answer. So you need to think on this. When we say that it aims to reduce the emission from agriculture, yes, this statement is correct. We know that agriculture contributes a lot to the greenhouse gases, ठीक है, from the methane remnants, the life from the livestock. So this first statement is correct that yes, we want to reduce emission from the greenhouse of the greenhouse gases from agriculture, and the aim of the project is that. So now whether it is being implemented, where it is being implemented, it's a fairly important project. So you should know that where all it is being implemented, it is being implemented only in the 5 states. Okay, and the 5 states are your Mizoram. So this is not a green revolution belt area. Mizoram, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Uttarakhand. So these states are not your green revolution belt area. So this the statement becomes incorrect. Now we want to see that second becomes incorrect. We have to come at two answers, one only or one and three only. So one is correct. We know that for sure. Coming whether it is being funded by Green Climate Fund, you could have drawn linkages by yes, probably because emission is reducing, therefore Green Climate Fund, but the answer is wrong here. The statement 3 is wrong. It is not being funded by GCF, rather it is being funded by GEF, that is the Green Environment Facility. Its Green Environment Facility looks into varied domains of environment, reducing pollution, reducing greenhouse gases. So yes, this is also funding the Green Act project, along with others like the FAO, Union Ministry of Environment and Forest, are also the key players involved in the implementation of Green Act project. So it is expected that you would know quite nitty-gritties of important projects like Green Act project. Coming on to question number 36, consider the following statements with respect to the general bathymetric chart of the ocean. So what is bathymetry? Basically, bathymetry is a technique, is an activity which enables us to know what all is present inside the ocean. Where are there gears, mountains, the submarine canyons? They help us understand the varied resources in the ocean as well as the topographical features in the ocean. So this is the aim of the bathymetry. So general bathymetric chart of the ocean. The question is on that. Few statements people generally make it wrong, thinking that okay, only word or two words like the extreme statements become wrong in examination. They think that the statement is wrong because this is use of extreme words. However, UPSC in past 2-3 years is trying to frame such questions which are extremely worded but they are not wrong. So similarly, we had taken inspiration from that and framed this question. Yes, it is the only intergovernmental organization with a mandate to map the entire ocean floor. So the entire ocean floor is to be mapped by this intergovernmental organization, and this intergovernmental organization is working under UNESCO. This is another interesting fact. You'll think UNESCO is related to the social and cultural thing, but no, it is being under UNESCO. Under the UNESCO, there is one commission, Intergovernmental or Oceanographic Commission. So this is under UNESCO, and it is actually implementing this project along with the International Hydrographic Organization. This was fairly easy. You could think that okay, IHO is involved. What was tricky here was the Oceanographic Commission under UNESCO. So it is under the joint auspices of IOC and IHO. And the project it has recently launched is the Seabed 2030 project. So from this question, you also should know about the information about Seabed 2030 project. Here, all of the statements are correct. So the answer is A. What happens generally, people think that okay, 1 2 3 would be at the end of the statement. The statement D would be 1 2 3, but B, have presence of mind. See where is 1 2 3 written. It do not actually commit the mistake of marking wrong in the OMR sheet because your mind is processing that okay, 1 2 3 would be a last option always. Don't do the mistake that also. We've already seen the information about the general bathymetric project. Want to tell you about the Seabed 2030 project. So when we talk about this project, it also aims to produce the map of the world ocean floor by 2030, and it is launched at the United Nations Ocean Conference. And one of the agenda it wants to fulfill is the Sustainable Development Goal 14. Okay, coming on to the next try to remember things by looking at the infographics, images, diagrams, especially when you're reading geography and environment. This works fairly good for history as well. Coming on to the next question, which is consider the following statements regarding Chilka Lake. Okay, so yes, It is the largest brackish water lagoon in Asia. Largest brackish water lagoon in Asia. Lagoon has brackish water. Whether it is largest or not, that has to be seen in the Asia. Second, the Nallabala Island within it has been notified as the bird sanctuary under Wildlife Protection Act. So what all information you should have known about whether there is Nallabala Island, whether it is a bird sanctuary, and whether it has been declared under Wildlife Protection Act or not. Then the third statement, was the first site from Asia to be removed from the Montreal's record. Okay, we know that it was removed from Montreal's record, but whether it was the first site in Asia, that has to be seen. So all the statement here are correct. The answer is 3, 1, 2, and 3, D. Let's see something about Chilika Lake. It is a brackish water lake. It is a lagoon, so has to be brackish water. It is a shallow lagoon. It is the largest brackish water lagoon in Asia, and it is also the India's oldest Ramsar site. Okay, so statement 1 becomes correct. It is the largest wintering ground for the migratory waterfowl found anywhere on the Indian subcontinent. So, wintering ground for the migratory birds, and it has one island, that is Nallabala Island. It has been notified as bird sanctuary, and it has been notified under the Wildlife Protection Act. It was removed from the Montreal's record in that was under Ramsar. Montreal's record contains those lists which basically are threatened. The wetlands which are threatened under the Ramsar Convention, they are declared under Montreal's record. It is for you to find out. Two sites are still there from India. Which are they? It's a fairly easy question. Please find this out. And was first site from the Asia to be removed from the Montreal's record. Along with this statement, when you are analyzing your paper, also try to think about the famous islands of India. So, where is Neil Island? Where is Barren Island? Where is Srirangampatnam Island? Which river? You need to search this information. Do not simply analyze your paper. Okay, this is right, this is wrong, this was factually incorrect, I did some conceptual error. Also try to think from the questions the different dimensions. Okay, it is talking about islands. How many islands India has? Where are the islands? What are the famous speciality of this island? That is what we call as analyzing your test paper. Coming on to the next question, consider the following paragraph and identify the wetland. So the entire paragraph is given. Even if you did not know the all the things about the wetland that is asking, you could have applied just the geographical knowledge about which option is actually fitting into the description of the paragraph that is asked. So let's go option wise. I'm reading out the question. It is the world's largest tropical wetland and sprawls over about 150,000 square kilometer in Brazil and extends into Bolivia and Paraguay. It is burning as the vegetation, which is compacted under the marshy flood water, will come out in the dry season. So it is now burning because of the summer season, catching the fire being catched because of the season. And we had to see which of the following option currently fits into the description. The option was the Panitil wetland, Okwango Basin, Queensland wetland, and the Mikengo wetland. So, if you just know the location of the wetlands that have been given in the options, the question would have become fairly easy for you. Let's go by the options. We are talking of Mekong wetland. We know Mekong River is in Southeast Asia. So it is talking about Brazil. So this option would be eliminated. Queensland wetland, we know it is in Australia. Generally, what happens is UPSC gives continent important features across the continents. Like where are this Atlas Mountain, where is Ural Mountain? They will give the entire question that would be framed in a difficult manner to intimidate the student. But the options would be on the basis of continent. So taking inspiration, we have framed this. Mekong is in Southeast Asia. Queensland is in Australia. Okwango Basin is in Africa. So only option that is left is the Panitil wetland, which is in Brazil and Paraguay. So if you know the famous wetlands across the continent, the question would become easy for you. A lot of information has been given to you in the explanation. So you can refer that. This is just for a picturesque memory that yes, this is the place of the Panchal wetland. Coming on to the last question from my side, it is a conceptual question which says that recently there is announced of the La Nina in the Pacific Ocean and what could be the possible effect of La Nina. So for this, you need to have the conceptual clarity about El Nino, La Nina, and the other features and the effects of it across the world. So when we talk about what is the possible impact of La Nina, it is asking about whether the Horn of Africa could see below average rainfall, the above average rainfall for the Southeast Asia, and the cooler sea surface temperature in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific. So if you know what is La Nina, the question would become easy for you. Here the answer is 1, 2, 3. I'm throwing light on what is La Nina and what would be the effect of La Nina. So when we say La Nina, what happens there? When we talk about ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation, that refers to the differential pressure across the Pacific Ocean. And there are two phases. One is the El Nino phase, the other is the La Nina phase. La Nina phase is good for the Indian monsoon. Remember it that way. What happens in La Nina is there is high pressure across the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Understand, you have to imagine the Pacific Ocean, right? So this is in entirety the Pacific Ocean. In the Pacific Ocean, this is the Eastern Pacific Ocean and this is the Western Pacific Ocean. So in the La Nina, there is the cooler or the high pressure on the Eastern Pacific Ocean and there is this warmer Western Pacific Ocean, right? So the third statement that there would be cooler sea surface temperature in the eastern part of the Pacific is correct. Okay, this would be high pressure, this would be low pressure. So whenever there is low pressure, there would be better rainfall there. Low pressure signifies that the wind would rise up, leading to more rainfall. So the second statement that it would have the above average rainfall for the Southeast Asia becomes correct because there would be low pressure here. And this low pressure is actually accompanied by the high pressure along the Africa. So if we talk about the La Nina, this is there would be comparatively high pressure along the African part. That high pressure would lead to subdued rainfall in the African part. So what happens in the La Nina? There's high pressure across the Southern America, low pressure across the Southeast Asia and the Australia, and the high pressure across the Africa. So leading to less rainfall in the Horn of Africa. So if you have the conceptual clarity about El Nino, La Nina, this question would be easy for you to solve. That's it from my side. The further discussion would be taken by Tehlil sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dimple, for this insightful discussion. I'll be starting with our science and tech portion as well as economy portion. Okay, just give me a second before I share the screen. Please confirm if the audio is clear. Okay. Okay, guys, please confirm if the audio is clear. Okay, all right. Okay, guys, let's begin with our discussion. So I have taken the first question, that is question number 12. The question number 12 is regarding the data exclusivity. The data exclusivity. Okay, this was the question that was asked in your exam. Now, data exclusivity is sometimes seen in the news. It refers to which of the following? Okay, so you have four options. The question was, a bit tricky. So the first option in here is the protection of clinical trial data submitted to the regulatory authorities. We'll be seeing what do we mean by this, but let's look at some other options first. Okay. Now, let's use the elimination method. If you look at the second option, it's an extension of patents rights under the intellectual property security system. Okay, so this is something talking about patents. Okay, now you should know that this is a topic of intellectual property rights, in which we discuss about the patents, in which we discuss about the copyrights, the trademarks, the trade secrets, okay, the geographical indications, the plant varieties, the semiconductor industrial designs, okay, industrial designs or industrial layouts, we call them. Now, all of these things are your intellectual property rights. Now, this is a question regarding patents. The option is it's an extension of patent rights under the intellectual property security system. Okay, now what happens in patents is whenever you come up with an invention, okay, now you have an invention in place or a discovery in place, you want to actually patent that. Now, when you patent that, you have to lay it open. The word patent means to lay open. The word patent means to lay open. That means the data, the information that you have to lay it open in front of the agency. Okay, now it does not give you data exclusivity. You have to lay the information open. So this option is eliminated right in here. Then you have option 3, that is critical data which is not meant to share with the foreign countries without the consent of citizens. That means data exclusivity. Is it a critical data which is not meant to share with the foreign countries? No, that is known as data protection. That is known as data protection. So we have a concept of data protection or data localization. That means suppose the data generated in India, we want to actually have that data stored in the localized community, not in foreign, global servers. We want to protect our data. We want to save our data locally. That is a concept of data localization. Fine. So we want to actually save our data locally. We want to protect our data. We do not want to share our data with these multinational corporations or the foreign countries for that matter. That means that is a concept of data protection and data localization. So second is also incorrect in here. Then you have option 4. That is the data which can be shared for generic medicine development without the consent of patent owners. Now, this is a very important concept in patent technology. In patents, it is known as the concept of compulsory licenses, compulsory licensing. So this is a concept under the WIPO, World Intellectual Property Rights Organization has a treaty in place that is known as TRIPS. Fine, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. So in this treaty, there is a provision that means that if you have a patent in place, suppose there is a patent regarding a pharmaceutical medicine. For example, if there is a patent regarding a medicine, okay, so you have created a medicine and you have filed the patent and you have got the protection for the next 20 years. You are the only company that is going to produce this particular medicine, right, for the next 20 years. But due to some problems, due to some national health emergency, due to some irrational pricing of the product, suppose the product is 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, fine, per dose, or the product is in need. There's a national health emergency in the country, and we need this product at a large scale. So in that particular sense, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, this treaty gives you this provision that you can give a compulsory license to anyone you want. You don't have to take the consent of the patent owner. So the company that has filed for the patent, okay, you initially require the company's permission to actually use its patent, fine. But if you are giving a compulsory license to any other company, you do not need to get the consent of the patent owners, fine. So that is a concept of compulsory licensing, okay. So this is also incorrect. So only one option is remaining. Only one is the correct answer. So what is data exclusivity? It is the protection of clinical trial data submitted to the regulatory authorities. What do I mean by that? Say, for example, I am a pharmaceutical company. I have created a new drug. And when I create a new drug, I have to do some clinical trials. And from those clinical trials, I get some data. Fine. I have some successful clinical trials or unsuccessful clinical trials. All that data that I've gathered, after that, after conducting successive clinical trials, I use that data and I file for the patent. Fine. Now, the other companies are not allowed to use my data, the data of my clinical trials, for their drugs. So that is data exclusivity. The data that you have gathered, that is only exclusively yours. No other company will be able to use that. Fine. So that is the protection of clinical trial data submitted to the regulatory authorities. Okay. So that is your option. Option 1 is correct. Second is not correct because it is related to data protection. Third is not correct. It is related to localization. And fourth is not correct. It is related to compulsory licensing. Now you have second question. It was a very direct question, and that is Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janashadi Pariyojana. Okay. Now this is operated under which ministry? So before we get to the answer, we just want to see what the this concept is. Now, Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janashadi Pariyojana is a campaign launched in 2008, okay, by the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, to provide what? To provide quality medicines at affordable prices. Fine. So we want quality medicines at affordable prices. For that particular goal, for that particular objective, we have this scheme in place. Okay. Now, how are we going to provide quality medicines at affordable prices? For that, you have created some special centers. Those centers are known as Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janashadi Kendra. Okay, PMBJK. These are some kendra. These are some special centers, special facilities where you go to these particular. If you go to these particular special centers, you will get quality medicines at lower prices, at affordable prices. Fine. Now, they are not some other drugs that you are getting. No, you are getting those same branded drugs, same medicines, but at a less price and quality drugs. Fine. The scheme has also launched a mobile application. This was not in the question, but you should know that the scheme has also launched a mobile application, and the mobile application is known as Jan Aushadhi Sugam app. What is this app made for? The app is made for, if you download this app, you'll be able to know, you'll be able to locate these special centers where you'll get the quality medicines at affordable prices. Fine. So it is actually to help people to locate these kendras around them. Okay. You'll have to open the location. You'll have to open the, the location option in your phone. So if then you'll get the idea about where around me are these special centers located, from where I can get this quality medicine at less prices. Okay. Now, presently there are almost 7,500 such kendras running across the country where you get good medicines at less prices. Now, this was under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. So this is the option. Option 3 is the correct answer. Then you have one more topic, that is regarding Municipal Performance Index. Municipal Performance Index. So consider the following regarding Municipal Performance Index. Before we go into MPI, that is Municipal Performance Index, you should actually know that, in our cities, or we actually have this idea in place that we want to actually measure the progress in our cities. Fine. So for that, we have two of the indicators. One is your Ease of Living Index, EOLI, and the other is MPI. It is not MPI, that multidimensional poverty index by UNDP in its HDR report. No, it is Municipal Performance Index. Okay. Now, EOLI and MPI, both of them are launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So this is the ministry that has launched Ease of Living Index as well as Municipal Performance Index, to actually look into these dimensions in which we'll get the idea, how much is the living conditions easy for the people that are living in these cities, and what is the performance of the municipal corporation or municipality of that particular area, in creating that developmental indicators. Now, in this Ease of Living Index, what do we actually see? Ease of Living Index, we have 3 pillars in which we actually calculate this Ease of Living Index. So these 3 pillars are, what do we see in this Ease of Living Index? The quality of life. The first dimension that we cover is the quality of life. Second dimension is economic ability. Second dimension is economic ability. This is what we cover in Ease of Living Index. And the third is sustainability. Sustainability. These are the dimensions that we cover under Ease of Living Index. It is also by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Now, under these 3 dimensions, we have divided it into almost 150 indicators, ranging from education, health, housing, shelter, safety, security. All these are the indicators of these dimensions. Okay, first you have the dimensions, and then you have the indicators. Now the indicators are 50 indicators, in which we see the ease of living in a particular city. Now this is actually seen for the first time in 2020. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has also launched a citizen perception survey, a citizen perception survey, a citizen perception survey. Why? To actually get the perception of citizens regarding these indicators. Okay, so that is your ease of living index. Second is your MPI. Let me clear the screen. The second is your municipal performance index. Now MPI, your municipal performance index, has 5 parameters. EO has only 3 parameters. Here there are 5 parameters. Now, which are the 5 parameters? You see the services that are being provided. You see what are the finance operations, if they are actually what are the finance conditions of the city. Then you have the policy. Is the policy being implemented or not? What is the ground level implementation of these policies? Then you have the technology and the governance. Now, is the modern technology being used? Is e-governance being used? How is the governance? Is the governance good? Okay. Now these are the 5 parameters, 5 dimensions in which we see the municipal performance in a particular area. Okay. Now, this assessment is made in the cities that are million plus cities as well as less than millions categories. What is a million plus cities? That means that these are the cities that have the population of more than 10 lakh people, and other cities that have less than 10 lakh people living in these cities. We actually make this assessment in both of these categories, million plus as well as less than million category of municipalities. Then in the million plus category, those cities that have actually more than 10 lakh people living in them, Indore, Surat and Bhopal has bagged top 3 positions. Top 3 positions has gone to municipalities of Indore, Surat and Bhopal. And in less than million category, we have New Delhi, Tirupati and Gandhinagar that has topped the list in less than million category. Now let's look at the question. Consider the following statements regarding municipal performance index. It seeks to examine and rate the local government's practices in municipalities, taking into consideration only 3 parameters. No, 3 parameters are not for MPI, they are for EOLI. Okay, so this is a wrong statement. Then you have, as of now, the assessment is being carried out only for municipalities with million plus population. No, it actually also carries it for less than million population category. So none of these statements is right. Neither 1 nor 2 is the correct option. Then moving forward, we have World Happiness Report. This is a report that comes in, every year you have a World Happiness Report of 2020, and this is a World Happiness Report of 2021. So let's look at the report before coming into the question. So in this particular report, what we have got right now, United Nations World Happiness Report 2021, it actually has 149 countries in it. Now these 149 countries are listed, okay, are ranked according to the levels of happiness that is, prevailing in that country. So the rank that India has gotten, that is 139. That means India is the least happy countries, among the least happy countries in the world. People here are not happy, whether it be with the governance, whether it be with the social support, whether it be with the health, whether it be with the choices or generosity or corruption. All these in all these dimensions, people in India are not happy. Okay, so India has ranked 139 out of 149 countries. Okay, now that is not good for India. If we compare Indian performance with our neighbors, Pakistan has actually performed better than India with 105 rank. So people living in Pakistan are relatively happier in comparison to India across these dimensions. We'll cover that. Kaun se dimension hai abhi dekhenge. So Bangladesh is more happier than Pakistan as well. That is 101st position is Bangladesh's, and then the China, it is 84th position. Okay, so China, Bangladesh and Pakistan have actually performed better in the World Happiness Report in comparison to India. So this is the first development. The second important thing is this World Happiness Report takes into account 6 variables. So there are 6 dimensions, 6 variables that actually are measured, and these are the variables which actually are required to make to actually come up with the rank of the country. So the first particular variable is GDP per capita, that is gross domestic product per capita. Per capita, okay, we call it per capita income, or we call it income per head. Okay, this is seen at purchasing power parity. This is seen at PPP. We don't see that it at exchange rate value. We see at purchasing power parity. So this is GDP per capita. How do we get that? You have the total GDP of the nation divided by total population. This will give you the per capita income, that is the GDP per capita income at triple P. Okay, so if you see the exchange value at triple P, $1 is actually equal to rupees 18. That is a purchasing power parity value of rupees in terms of dollar. But if you see in terms of exchange rate system, $1 is equal to close to 75 rupees. Now that is an exchange rate system. Now, but this is a PPP, purchasing power parity. How much is the purchasing power of the currency with respect to the foreign currency? So that is the first indicator seen in the World Happiness Report, GDP per capita. Then you have social support. If you have somebody to count on, right? If you have somebody in your life that you actually you know that I can count on this person, that is your social support. In social support also, India has not performed good. Healthy life expectancy at birth. So we have a problem of healthy life expectancy at birth. People, the babies that are born, they don't have a healthy life expectancy compared to the developed world. Then we have freedom to make life choices. Are we free to make our life choices? Is our society generous enough? Now, Pakistan and Bangladesh have actually performed better in generosity than India. Okay, so that is the thing that we should contemplate on, whether we, where are we going and where should we go. Then you have perceptions of corruption. That is India. We already know that the subcontinent, huge levels of corruption. So how this, if you compare India with China, what is the basic, basic trend in China that has led to the development of China from the last 30 years? China has clamped down on corruption. There are more than 400 ministers that are lying in Chinese jails right now. China is the only country in the history of human civilization that has been able to lift 700 million people out of poverty. 700 million people. That is huge accomplishment of China. So this is only because China has clamped down on corruption. So there is less corruption compared to India there. So these are the 6 important variables. Then World Happiness Report is actually released by United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. There's UNSDSN, that is United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Finland is the country that has actually ranked first in this World Happiness Report. And Afghanistan is the country that has stood at last at 149th position. So let us see what was the question. Consider the following statements regarding the World Happiness Report. India received a better rank. No, India did not receive a better rank. Second, GDP is used one of the criteria for calculation of the ranking of countries. Absolutely right. The precise state is GDP per capita. So option 2 is correct. That is your right answer. Then moving forward, there is a question regarding Stop TB strategy or Stop TB partnership. Okay. Now TB, you already know it's a bacterial disease. Tuberculosum is, this is a mycobacterium. This is a bacteria that causes TB. Okay. Now TB is a huge problem in India as well. India is the country in the world that has large number of cases of TB. Now we have launched a lot of programs, to eradicate TB from India as well as from the world, whether it be, a TB strategy, WHO end TB strategy, whether it be United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. All these things have TB as their, goal to be eradicated by 2030. Okay. So you have WHO end TB strategy, World Health Organization's end TB strategy, as well as United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are actually, trying to end the TB epidemic by 2030. Okay. There is a famous heading, there is a famous line quoted in this TB partnership, that is, our children that are living today will see TB eliminated in their lifetime. Okay. They don't have to wait. They will see that TB is getting eliminated in this particular lifetime right now. Okay. Now that is your Stop TB partnership. So recently there was this partnership was made among 100 countries, and in 100 countries there are 1,700 partners ranging from non-governmental organizations, community groups, civil society members. Fine, there are research and funding agencies, there are governmental agencies, okay, international and technical organizations. All these organizations have clubbed together to stop the TB, and this is known as Stop TB Partnership. There are 1,700 partners ranging in 100 different countries. Okay, now let's look at the question. Consider the following statements with respect to Stop TB Partnership. It is a partnership between high TB burden countries. No, it is a partnership between hundreds of countries, ranging from different different social structures. Then this is a wrong option. Then you have second option is its target is to end TB epidemic by 2030. Absolutely right. I already told you the target is right. Then you have it is hosted by World Health Organization. That is not correct. Okay, so you have only 2 is your correct answer. That is 2 only, option 2. Okay, then you have which is the who hosts this Stop TB's partnership. It is hosted by United Nations Office for Project Services. Okay, it is in Geneva, Switzerland. Moving forward, the other question is regarding TISC. TISC is Technology Innovation Support Center Program. Okay, now this Technology Innovation Support Center Program is an important program, and it is actually linked to intellectual properties. Okay, now let us see what the program is. The program is run by a World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO we call it, right? So when we have actually this WIPO, this is a World Intellectual Property Organization to protect the intellectual property, world over. And on the lines of WIPO, in India we have developed NIPO, that is National Intellectual Property Organization, to protect the these intellectual properties in our nation. Okay, so this is WIPO. So this WIPO has a process in place, that is TISC program, that is Technology and Innovation Support Center Program. And what is this program about? It is simply that our the intellectual property rights world over must be protected. How are we going to protect them? We should provide quality technological information, right? That is locally accessible. So people, if they have a process in place, if they have a technology, they should be able to access, what the information regarding the technology is world over present. So in this particular line, India has also launched its digital library, the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, TKDL, Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. Why? Because to give the world the information in our traditional knowledge, in our the Vedas and Smritis and whatnot. We have a huge amount of traditional knowledge. We want to give that to the world, and they want to see before actually patenting our processes and our methods and getting them patented in world over. We actually want to give them that this particular knowledge is already present in our traditional books. So likewise, you have TISC. TISC is a Technology and Innovation Support Center Program. It provides innovators in developing countries, this is important, with access to locally based high quality technological information and helping them to exploit their innovative potential and to create, protect, and manage their intellectual property rights. So TISC is related to intellectual property rights. Then let's look at the question. Consider the following statements regarding TISC. Number one, these are centers of excellence established under World Bank's program. World Bank is not actually linked to this intellectual property. World Bank is linked to developmental aspects. Okay, so World Bank has nothing to do with this. This is your wrong option. Then you have, is it being implemented by DPIIT, Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade? If you don't know this, let's wait. Let's eliminate the other options. Option 3, core objective of such centers is to facilitate the adoption of artificial intelligence. No, it is actually meant for intellectual property. Now option 1 and 3 is not correct. Even if you don't know the option second, you can actually eliminate the other 2 options. Now you see, this is 2 only is the correct answer here. So option 2 is the right answer. Okay. Even if you already only know one option, that is this, that it is not linked to artificial intelligence, you'll be able to eliminate 3 of the options and only 2 will be the correct option. Okay. So that is your question number 23. Now the second question number 25. This is a question that is actually CogX Innovation Awards. are given in which of the following fields? Now, COGX was recently in news. It is given in a field of artificial intelligence. We need not get into more detail, but we should learn about COGX. It's the world's leading artificial intelligence festival. Okay, this is AI festival, and COGX has recently given in India. There are actually this AI-enabled My Government Corona Help Desk has bagged 2 awards in this particular category. That is the best innovation for COVID-19 society and People's Choice COVID-19 overall winner. These were the categories under which this award was given. Now this is given under Global Leadership Summit, which is held annually, and these awards were actually backed by the Reliance Geo Digital Services, which is now renamed to Geo Haptic Technologies. So Geo Haptic Technologies is nothing but Reliance Geo Digital Services, and they have actually recently taken up this haptic technologies, and this has now been taken up by Reliance Geo, and that is why its name is changed to Geo Haptic Technologies. This is the country that this is the company that has won these awards. So it is given under artificial intelligence. Moving forward, we have which of the following cities has become the first? Which of the following cities has become the first city in India to successfully issue green municipal bonds? Now we already know it is Ghaziabad, but before moving into these green municipal bonds, we should know about Bombay Stock Exchange. Okay, so Bombay Stock Exchange, guys, you should know it was developed in 1870, and it is the oldest and the first in China. It is the oldest stock exchange. It is the oldest stock exchange of Asia. Okay, and it is also the first stock exchange of Asia. Okay, oldest and first stock exchange of Asia. The older name of Bombay Stock Exchange is the Native Share and Stockbrokers Association. This is a older name of Bombay Stock Exchange. Now, this was developed in 1870, and in 1886 we came up with in 1986 we came up with an index of Bombay Stock Exchange. So we took up the top 30 trading institutions, companies which were trading in Bombay Stock Exchange. We took those companies and we made an index of those companies, that is Sensex. Sensex means sensitive index. Okay, sensitive index. So sensitive index was developed for top 30 trading companies in the Bombay Stock Exchange. It was then later on, it was increased to 50 trading companies, but it was then brought down back to 30 trading companies. So Sensex may, we actually have to see the top 30 trading companies. So in Bombay Stock Exchange, it is not only that the Sensex is seen. In Bombay Stock Exchange, we see various other indexes as well. Say, for example, you have Bombay Stock Exchange 100, in which we see the 100 companies. You have Bombay Stock Exchange 200, and in this Bombay Stock Exchange 200, if you use that in dollar, the dollar version of BSE 200 is known as Dolex. Dolex is again an index of Bombay Stock Exchange in dollars. Then you have Bombay Stock Exchange 500. Then you have Bombay Stock Exchange PSU for public sector undertakings. You have Bombay Stock Exchange Auto for automobile companies. You have Bombay Stock Exchange Pharma for pharmaceutical companies. You have Bombay Stock Exchange Metal, okay, for these companies that are involved in this. Now, these are some indexes of Bombay Stock Exchange. It is the oldest and the first in Asia. After that, you have NSE as well, National Stock Exchange. It is the youngest of the stock exchange. It was developed in 1992, but it started its operation from 1994. Now, the index of NSE is Nifty. You already know that. Nifty 50. आपने सुना होगा Nifty 50. Nifty is actually index of top 50 trading companies in National Stock Exchange. You again have Nifty Junior. Nifty Junior is your the index for the next 50 companies that are trading in the National Stock Exchange. The top 50 are covered in Nifty. The second top 50 are covered in Nifty Junior. Again, you have BankX. BankX is again an index under National Stock Exchange. BankX. So this is an index for the banking sector, banking shares. Okay. Now, these are some important facts regarding Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. And in this Bombay Stock Exchange, Ghaziabad became the first city in India to actually issue green municipal bonds. Why do they want to issue the green municipal bonds? They were issued in 2021 recently, and they are issued to raise 150 crores. And why do they want this 150 crores? Because they want to actually develop water treatment plants, and they want to supply piped water in the region of Ghaziabad. Okay, now that was the aim of that. Then we have another question number 45. It is the commitment of reducing inequality index. The commitment of reducing inequality index, it was released lately. With reference to the same, consider the following statements. Okay, now commitment to reducing inequality index. Now this index monitors what the governments and civil societies organizations are doing through their policy commitments to reduce inequality. No. Okay, now see guys, first of all, you need to understand the concept of inequality. The concept of inequality, we have this famous curve which says that whenever a country is actually progressing and is registering economic growth in the country, and in this particular economic growth, we actually see the levels of inequality that are increasing initially. Okay, so this, they say that as you have an economic growth in a country, the levels of inequality also increase. But later on, as and when you continuously keep on growing, the inequality actually stops. Okay, it stops, and it later on comes down. So it becomes an inverted U curve, and this U curve is known as the Kuznets curve. So Kuznets curve tells us, how the inequality initially starts to, increase whenever you register growth, higher levels of growth, as has happened in India. Later on, if you keep on growing for the next, continuously in the long term, the inequality will come down. Now, recently in economic survey of 2021, it was actually said that inequality in India, is favorable. We have a favorable inequality in India. We want that inequality to happen, okay, because that inequality will incentivize people to work harder. Fine. So that was recently a chapter in economic survey. So this is regarding inequality, and this inequality, recently there was a commitment to reducing inequality index. Okay, what does this inequality index monitor? It monitors actually, the policy commitments of the government. So the policy commitments of the government to reduce inequality, you want to monitor whether those policy commitments are met or not. Okay, it has nothing to do with civil society organizations. It is only monitoring the government's policy commitments to reduce inequality. Okay, we don't want the inequality to happen. We want to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. For that, the government has a policy in place, and those policy commitments are measured in commitment to reducing inequality index. Okay, number 2 is your index measures government policies and actions in 3 areas that are directly linked to reducing inequality: public services, taxation, and workers' right. We'll see that here. Now, this is actually, the index, this particular index, CRI index, is actually prepared first of all by Development Finance International and Oxfam International, and these are the organizations that have come up with this index to measure inequality for this assessment of the government's policy commitments. Now, in its report in 2020, India has ranked 129 in 158. That is, the policy commitments of the government to reduce inequality is not up to that much, that amount. It is not meeting the criteria of this index. Okay, that is why we have also ranked very low in this particular index. It measures only 3 areas, and the areas are public services, that is regarding education, health, and social protection. What are the levels of inequality, the taxation, and the workers' rights. Okay, these are the 3 parameters in which we actually measure this CRI index. Okay, now the second option is correct because they have mentioned these 3 areas, 3 criteria. First option is not correct. Why? Because it has nothing to do with the civil societies. So second only, 2 only is the right answer, option 2. Okay, then you have one more question that is regarding Gemini device, sometimes seen in the news. Okay, if you want to have an idea regarding the Gemini, you should actually have an idea regarding the GNSS and RNSS systems. So this is your global navigation satellite system. This is a regional navigation satellite system. You should know that globally there is a satellite system in place that provides global navigation to the people world over. Now we have GPS, Global Positioning System. GPS is a constellation of 32 satellites that are up there. Most of them are in the geosynchronous orbit, and some of them are in the geostationary orbit. And this GPS is a constellation of 32 satellites of United States that provide global navigation satellite system to the people world over. Then we have GLONASS. GLONASS is a GNS, that is Global Navigation Satellite System, with a constellation of 24 plus satellites. This is of Russian Federation. This is of Russia that have developed this global navigation satellite system. Then you have Galileo. Galileo is again one more global navigation satellite system, constellation of more than 24 satellites, and this is of European Union. Then you have BIDO, or we call it Compass or BIDO 2. BIDO 2. This BIDO 2 or Compass is actually a global navigation satellite system of China. It is the largest navigation satellite system in the world with a constellation of 35 satellites. Okay, so these are some of the global navigation satellite systems. In comparison to this, we have regional navigation satellite systems, and precisely we have IRNSS, that is India's regional navigation satellite system, known as NAVIC. Okay, known as NAVIC. Now, this NAVIC is India's regional navigation satellite system with a constellation of 7 satellites, in which the 4 satellites are in geosynchronous orbit and 3 satellites are in geostationary orbit. Okay, now they provide the coverage of India as well as the border line of India in the territorial waters as well. And they are actually providing 2 kinds of services. One is a restricted kind of service for our defense forces. One is an open kind of services for civilian use. Okay, now this is your Indian regional navigation satellite system that provide the navigation in India. Now the question is regarding Gemini. Okay, now what is Gemini? Now you see, guys, our fishermen that are actually fishing in the in the Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, or in the Indian Ocean. Once they get actually they get off the coast and they actually go beyond 10 to 12 kilometers of the coast. After crossing 10 to 12 kilometers, there actually the mobile phone frequency do not work. Okay, so the mobile phones, if the mobile phones do not work, suppose there is a suppose crisis, there is a maybe flood coming in, there is a tsunami coming in, there is some sort of a weather fluctuation. In that particular event, we will not be able to give this information to our fishermen that have already gone into the ocean, into the sea, and we are not able to give them this information. Why? Because their mobile phone frequency cannot be accessed after 10 to 12 kilometers beyond the coast. Now, for that only, we have given them Gemini devices. Now, these devices will give them connectivity till 300 nautical miles, and 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.8 kilometers. Now, we can calculate how many kilometers that will be. Up to 300 nautical miles, you will be getting this range with this Gemini device. And this Gemini device is not actually, this is the Gemini device. It is not, it does not work on IRNSS, that is NAVIC. It does not work on NAVIC. It works on Gagan. It works on Gagan. So what is Gagan? Gagan is GPS-aided geo-augmented navigation. GPS-aided geo-augmented navigation. We had developed this Gagan system as a satellite-based augmentation system. So countries world over has a satellite-based augmentation system. Say, for example, the airplanes are actually moving in the stratosphere, and you would want to give these airplanes a satellite-based navigation system. You have to help these airplanes, where they are flying and where they should go, where they should turn, and if the turn is wrong, how they should correct their path. Now, these are to actually, for the civil aviation, for the safety of civil aviation, you have developed this Gagan. Okay, it's a satellite-based augmentation system. Now, this Gagan is actually this Gemini uses the Gagan. It works on the Gagan. It does not actually work on IRNSS, that is NAVIC. Okay, it works on Gagan, and Gagan was developed by ISRO and Airports Authority of India. It was developed by ISRO and Airports Authority of India. But you have to remember that this Gemini device used by fishermen, it cannot be used to make phone calls. Why? Because it is only a one-way communication. You will only be getting the alerts, getting the warnings regarding the weather, regarding the weather conditions in the ocean. Okay, you will not be able to make phone calls. It is not a two-way conversation, it's a one-way communication system. Okay, now that is your Gemini. Now let's look into the question what we have in here. Suppose the with reference to Gemini device, consider the following statements. It will help fishermen to alert even when they are outside the cellular coverage. Absolutely right, up to 300 nautical miles. Then you have the device uses both India's IRNSS and USA's GPS. No, it only uses GPS, which is actually used in Gagan. So that is GPS aided. Okay, it does not use IRNSS. So this is your wrong statement. It can be used to make calls by the fishermen. It is not used to make calls. It is only to get alerts and warnings. This is again wrong. Only one is the correct option. Okay. Moving forward, this is a very direct question from ACT Accelerator Coalition. What is ACT Accelerator? Okay. Let's look into the ACT Accelerator first. ACT is actually, it stands for Access to COVID Tools. Access to COVID-19 tools. Okay, now this is Access to COVID-19 tools accelerator. Okay, we have a problem in COVID-19 testing. We already had that problem. We were not able to diagnose it properly. We were not able to give vaccines. We were not able to give therapies. We were not able to connect the people with the health agencies. That was the problem in this COVID pandemic. So what we have created, it is a Group 20 initiative. The countries have announced in 2020 April that they are actually launching ACT Accelerator. You actually are accelerating the access to COVID-19 tools to the people, and it will actually have 4 pillars, and these 4 pillars will be vaccines. Regarding vaccines, so the vaccines of COVID are known as COVAXes. Okay, so that is your COVID vaccine. So actually it comprises 4 pillars, and that one is your COVAX, that is the vaccines. Second is the diagnostics. Okay, how to diagnose whether a person is COVID positive or not. Therapeutics and health systems connector. This is your 4 pillars in this ACT Accelerator. It is a G20 initiative launched in 2020, and Group 20 in 2020 have launched this by the WHO and European Commission. France, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have already also participated in this particular initiative, that is Access to COVID Tools Accelerator. India has also been a donor in this alliance. You have to remember this. India has also donated in this alliance. Now let's look into the question. Consider the following statements about the ACT Accelerator Coalition. ACT Accelerator is a WHO initiative to fight COVID-19. Okay, is it a WHO initiative? Is it only a WHO initiative? No, it is a G20 initiative. Okay, so that is your wrong statement. Then you have India as a donor in this alliance. Absolutely right. India is a donor in this alliance. Option 2 is correct. 2 only is the right answer. Then you have regarding AT1 bonds. AT1 bonds, will be seeing what are the AT1 bonds. Now see guys, we all know you are giving this. You are giving the exam right now. You are giving the current affairs. You are already prepared. You already know what are the NDTL, what is the capital requirement norms, okay, of the banking system. You should also know that banks are required to keep a certain level of capital. Fine, banks are required to keep a certain level of capital. Say for example, there is a bank, and this bank has people have deposited money into this bank, and when people deposit money into the bank, they are considered the liabilities of the bank. Now these deposits can be of 2 types. They can be fixed deposits, they can be recurring deposits. Okay, so these fixed and recurring deposits are known as time deposits. They are known as time deposits. Likewise, you have demand deposits, in which you have current account and saving account. These CASA accounts are known as demand deposits. Demand deposits. Okay, now you are seeing the deposits into the banking sector of 2 kinds, whether it be a time deposit or demand deposit. People have deposited money into the bank. These are known as time liabilities or the demand liabilities. Okay, now these time liabilities and the demand liabilities are with the bank. Fine. So of this time and demand liabilities, the banking sector has to keep some ratios. Suppose they have to keep CRR with 3% CRR with RBI. Suppose they have to keep 18% SLR with themselves in the form of government securities. Okay, now these are some of the ratios they have to maintain of their NDTL. Now, suppose there is a problem with the bank. Bank has actually huge NPAs. Bank has gone into losses. In that particular scenario, the bank is not able to actually recover the losses and not able to give the money back to the people that have deposited money into the banking sector. Now, in such a scenario, what can the bank do? Bank has actually lost a lot of money. Bank can use the SLR quota securities. Bank can use the CRR from the RBI to give the money back to the people. But if the CRR and SLR is not able to meet the requirements that a bank needs to give the money back to the people, bank needs to have efficient capital. Okay, bank needs to have efficient capital behind the NDTL to actually support the bank in times of need. And this capital requirement was first of all told us by the Basel norms. Basel norms told us that banks need to have an adequate capital to support them in times of need. Okay, now this capital that the banks should have, these capital are of two types. The capital that the banks have are of two types. One is the tier 1 capital, and the second is the tier 2 capital. Now, the tier 1 capital is also known as the core capital of the bank. It is also known as the core capital. The tier 2 is known as the supplementary capital. It is known as supplementary capital. Okay. So the most important is your tier 1 capital, and tier 1 capital, or the core capital, is the huge amount of capital that the banks have to keep behind the NDTL. Now, core capital has two types. Okay, this tier 1 capital has two types. One is your common equity tier 1, common equity tier 1 capital. That is your one kind of capital. And the second is additional tier 1 capital. Additional tier 1 capital. Okay, combined these two, common equity tier 1 capital as well as additional tier 1 capital combined, they are known as the core capital of the bank. Now, what is this common equity tier 1 and additional tier 1 capital? Suppose I have to come up with a bank. I want to open a bank. So when I want to open a bank, I want to have a lot of money with me. Okay, so I need 500 crores of money to open a bank, to have a huge, infrastructure in place, to have a good bank, good branch, okay, good technology. Now, for that, I need 500 crores. So for that, I will have to issue equities. I'll have to issue shares of my bank. So by issuing the shares of the bank, I will be able to gather a lot of money. Okay, garner a lot of money. So that is considered as common equity tier 1 capital. Okay, common equity tier 1 capital. This is the capital given by the shareholders, of the banks. Okay, so banks have shareholders. They give the money to the bank to start the process, and that is your common equity tier 1 capital. Second is your additional tier 1 capital. Additional tier 1 capital is, suppose I need 100 crores money. I need 100 crores for opening a bank, and I am able to generate 80 crores from this common equity tier 1, but I still need 20 crore. Okay, now this 20 crore can be generated by additional tier 1 capital. Okay, so this additional tier 1 capital is actually what it is. These are bonds. Okay, now what the bank issues? The bank issues 81 bonds. These are known as additional tier 1 81 bonds. Okay, now bank needed 100 crores. Bank has generated 80 crores from common equity tier 1, and bank has to generate additional tier 1 capital by issuing the 81 bonds. These are bonds. Okay, but these bonds have special characteristics. We need to understand what are the characteristics of these bonds. Number one characteristic of additional tier 1 bond is these are hybrid instruments. Okay, they have both the characteristics of shares and they have the characteristic of bond as well. Okay, what is the characteristic of share and a bond? Now, as you see, guys, suppose whenever you actually purchase a share, or a particular company gives you a share and you have purchased the share, that share becomes yours. You are the owner of that share. You don't have to give the money back. Okay, so that share, when you have actually sold a particular share to a particular person, and you have so for example, I have sold 10 lakh worth of shares and I got this 10 lakh rupees. I'm not obliged to give this 10 lakh rupees back. Why? Because it is now my capital, is now my money. I have issued the shares, right? So you are seeing that person has no obligation to pay back if it has issued the share. So that is a characteristic of shares. What is the characteristic of bonds? In bonds, you have to pay a rate of interest. So somebody is giving you money, you have to pay that rate of interest, and you also have to pay the money back at some point of time. Fine. Now, in this particular 81 bonds, what we are seeing these are the both, they have the both characteristics. What is the characteristic? They are actually in these particular bonds, there is no maturity date. That means whenever you purchase a bond, generally it is for 5 years or 10 years. Okay, but in these 81 bonds, there is no maturity date. Fine, there is no maturity date. They behave like shares. They behave like in shares, you don't have a maturity rate, but in bonds you do have a maturity rate. So actually these bonds behave like shares because they do not have a maturity rate. Okay, now why do we call them bonds? Why not call them shares? Because they provide interest. Bonds do provide interest, and 81 bonds also provide interest. But they do not have a maturity date. They behave like shares, but also provide interest. That is why they are known as hybrid instruments. They have both the features of shares as well as bonds. Okay, these are also known as perpetual bonds. What is a perpetual bond? That is a bond without a maturity period. Okay, it does not have a maturity period. That is why it's considered as a perpetual bond. And how do we actually, these bonds, 81 bonds, they don't have a maturity date. You go and you purchase an 81 bond, you are purchasing it, it's indefinite, you don't have, it does not have a maturity bond, you'll get the high rate of interest, but they have the high rate of interest, okay? So you are getting a high rate of interest, and these are perpetual bonds, no maturity period. But the important point is they also have call options. That means the bank has an option to redeem them after 5 years or 10 years. The bank has an option that the bank will say that I am redeeming these bonds. I want these bonds back. Okay. So if the banks will take these bonds back, bank will have to give the money back. Right? In that particular sense, bank has the call option. The bond in itself does not have a maturity period. The bond does not have a maturity period, but the bank has a call option. That means bank can redeem these bonds after 5 or 10 years. Okay. So these are actually also no put option bonds. What is a no put option? That is, the investor cannot return back the 81 bonds to the bank. Once it has actually purchased these bonds, the investor, the person that has invested in these bonds, it has no put option. That means it cannot return these bonds to the bank. It has purchased it, then it has purchased it. Bank has the option to redeem it. Investor has no put option. Investor has no option to return the bonds. Bank has the option to call the bonds. Fine. So there is call option, but no put option. That is important. And these bonds are also tradable bonds. These can be traded in the secondary market. If you have got the 81 bonds, you can trade them with the other person, but you cannot give them back to the bank. Okay, that is no put option in these bonds. These bonds are also unsecured bonds. Okay, unsecured bonds. If you actually are investing in these bonds, it becomes an unsecured bond. It does not have any backing. Okay. Now the important thing is, recently the Yes Bank had issued 81 bonds, and this 81 bonds, majority of these bonds were actually invested by mutual funds. So they recently, SEBI has increased this 100-year expiry clause into this 81 bonds expiry clause. What is this 100-year expiry clause? I already told you they had no maturity period. Because of that, the mutual funds used to invest a lot of money into these bonds, and because these are very unsecured bonds, the people's money in the mutual funds that was actually getting into these 81 bonds, it became quite risky. So it became quite volatile. The situation got quite unstable. So that is why SEBI got a 100-year expiry clause. That means that the person that is getting the money into these bonds will have to keep that money in these bonds for the next 100 years. Fine. So this 100-year expiry clause was recently brought in by SEBI, and because of that only, these 81 bonds became quite became quite unattractive. Why? Because why would you put money in 100 years? Suppose if there is an Axis Bank that has issued a 81 bond and there is a 100-year expiry date on it, I will not be able to give that I will not be able to give money to the Axis Bank for the next 100 years. Why will I give the money to the Axis Bank for the next 100 years? I don't even know that the Axis Bank will be able to survive for the next 100 years. But recently, this SEBI, gave this 100-year expiry clause, which was on the direction of the government. It was taken out. Okay, the government directed RBI to actually, get this expiry clause out of this system because it created a lot of problem in the mutual funds investing in these AT1 bonds. So this is not applicable right now. Now, let's get back to the question. Let's get back to the question. Consider the following systems regarding additional tier 1 bonds. These are unsecured bonds which have perpetual tenure. These are unsecured bonds which have perpetual tenure. Absolutely right. I already told you there is no maturity date. They are issued by the banks to meet the regular capital requirement under the Basel III norms. Absolutely right. What is the Basel III norms? These are the Basel norms given by Bank of International Settlement, which is the central bank of central banks made by 64 of the central banks of the country of the world. These Basel norms came up with first the Basel I came in 1998, then the Basel II came in 2004, and then the Basel III. And the world is currently working on the process of Basel III. Okay, now Basel III and Basel II, these are the norms given by Bank of International Settlement that covered all the three risks, all the three R's. What are the risks? The risks being the credit risk, the market risk, and the operational risk. While as the Basel I already only covered the credit risk of these bonds, of these deposits. Now, credit risk, market risk, and operation risk, all these risks were covered, and they also gave capital adequacy norms. Okay, that is capital adequacy norm. That is how much capital is adequate for the banks, that they should have that much of capital before starting the banking operations. Now, if the banks do not have that capital, they will not be able to, start the financial services. That is why these banks, to meet the Basel III norms, to meet these norms of having that capital adequacy ratio, having that counter-cyclical capital buffer of 2.5%, of 9% of capital adequacy ratio, CAR and CCCB, to actually have that capital adequacy ratio to meet these regulatory requirements, the banks issue additional tier 1 capital to get, to take money from the market and meet the capital requirements under the Basel III. Okay, so this is absolutely right. Both the options are correct. 1 and 2 is the right answer. Then you have a public credit registry. It was a direct question. Public credit registry was recommended by, let's see the public credit registry first. So public credit registry was recommended by Y.M. Diosthali committee. It was set up under RBI. So this committee gave the recommendation that we should have a PCR. PCR means public credit registry. Okay. Why do we want a public credit registry? Because we want a single database. हमारे पास एक database होना चाहिए wherein we will see the money that is getting in as loans, the money that is getting out as loans. Okay. The money that is not coming back, the outstanding loans, okay, the repayment history of a particular company. If a company has taken loans, what is the repayment history of that company? We need to have a single big large database of all these transactions between the corporates, between the normal borrowers, these individual borrowers that are actually getting the money, all sorts of borrowing that is happening in the economy, whether it be borrowings from the NBFC, whether it be borrowing from the normal banks, borrowings as the corporate bonds, external commercial borrowings, masala bonds, rupee denominated bonds, dollar denominated bonds. All these actually borrowings have to be put in place in a public credit registry, which will maintain all these, public credit, these options, that how much is the borrowing being done by these, institutions. Okay. Now this was actually recommended by Y.M. Diosthali committee, and which actually recommended the setting up of PCR. PJ Nayak committee was not meant for PCR; it was meant for Bank Board Bureau. Okay. Now this registry captures the data on loans of all kinds of sources, from banks, from NBFCs, from corporate bonds, external commercial borrowings, intercorporate lending also, as well as the masala bonds. Okay, that is given by the IFC, which is the private arm of the World Bank. Then you have, it also includes ancillary information like any overdue utility payments, the tax payments, the data, other primary information sources. Now this is your PCR. Now let's get to the question. It was recommended by PJ Nayak committee. No, it was recommended by PJ Nayak committee was for Bank Board Bureau. It captures data on loans of all kinds of resources. Yes, this is a correct answer. Option 2 is the correct answer. 2 only is the right answer. And we have regarding copyrights, we already know this is a concept of intellectual property rights, a very important concept in which we'll have to cover the patents. You have to cover the copyrights. Okay, so Copyright Act of 1957 makes this Indian patent law also. Section 3D, very important section. You can get a question in mains from this. Then you have, trademarks. Trademarks is precisely linked with logos, okay, symbols. Okay, so for example, if I told you which is the company with this symbol, which is the company that has this symbol like this, okay, come on, write in the comment section, which is the company with this symbol. Okay, we already know. Okay, आपको बस symbol देखना है, आपको समझ आ जाएगा, which is the company of this particular with this particular symbol. If I told you there is just this, okay, this tick. Now you already know that this tick is a Nike. Okay, this is a particular symbol of Nike. Now all these things are trademarks. Okay, these are trademarks of a particular company. What are copyrights? Copyrights are literary works. Okay, for example, there are novels, there are songs, there are videos. Fine. YouTube, the video that generally you are seeing in this particular channel, Edukemy, the video that you're watching, we have a copyright on that video. Okay, we have developed that video. We have the copyright. We can actually reproduce it. We can translate it. We can issue it at any other place. We are the owners of this particular video. Now that is the copyright that we have. Okay. Now also, if you have developed a software is also actually we actually take this software, and this is also considered under a copyright. So these are the copyrights and the trademarks. Now let's look at the question. Which of the following can be protected under copyrights? Literary works, absolutely, whether it be novels, books, whatever, songs, वगैरह, ये सब आपका poems, all these literary works are your protected under copyrights. Brand identity, logos and slogans, no. If there is a slogan, just do it. Okay, this slogan is not actually protected under copyright. It is protected under trademarks. It is protected under trademarks. So this is wrong. Music compositions, absolutely right. You have songs, you have albums, whatever, any sort of such songs and albums. Music compositions are protected under copyright. Methods of direction in movie making, no, there is no, because copyright only protects expressions. Copyright only protects expressions. It does not protect ideas. There is a difference between the two. Expressions को protect किया जाता है, ideas are not protected. आपके दिमाग में कोई चीज चल रही है, you have a method of direction, okay, you have a method of movie making that is in you, that is the idea that you have. We will not be able to protect it. We will only be able to protect the expression of it. What have you developed? What have you in place that is going to be protected? Fine. Methods of direction and these ideas and movie makings are not able. We are not able to protect that under the copyright. So 1 and 3 will be your right answer. 1 and 3, that is your option 1. Okay, correct answer. Moving forward, question number 69. RBI governor recently said that India will continue to approach capital account convertibility. Now, this is a very important concept of balance of payment. Balance of payment. Okay, balance of payment has two accounts. One is the current account and the capital account. We already know that, current account and capital account. Now, if you have to say which are the transactions in the current and capital account, you just need to know that the investment and borrowings, you just need to know this one line. Investment and borrowings form the part of capital account. Everything else is a part of current account. Okay, investment and borrowings form the part of capital account, and everything else is a part of current account. Okay, whether it be, just let me make this. You have this balance of payment. Balance of payment may you have this current account, and in this current account you have visible account, and invisible, visible and invisible. And it's visible, there is the goods transaction, export and import of goods. This is a current account transaction. In invisible portion, you have three kinds of transactions, whether it be a transaction of services, okay? It can be a transaction of services, import and export of services. There can be incomes, okay? Incomes, profits and dividends, interest, etc. These are your incomes. And then are transfers, donations, gifts and grants. That is an invisible portion of current account. All these transactions are form the part of current account. Then you have capital account. Capital account may you have investments, and borrowings, investment and borrowings. And one more thing is here, that is the banking capital. It is actually a part of investments only. Banking capital, in which we see the NRI deposits, okay? In the borrowing, you can see the external commercial borrowing by the private sector, the sovereign gold bonds by the government, central government. In investments, you have the foreign portfolio investment, the foreign direct investment, okay? This foreign portfolio investment was initially considered as foreign institutional investment and qualified foreign investor. These were combined by the recommendation of Chandrasekhar Committee. Chandrasekhar Committee led to the combination of FI and QFI in 2014, in which we actually call this FPI, that is foreign portfolio investment, and then the FDI also. Now, what is the FDI and FPI? There is only one difference between the two. FPI is an investment in a Indian company which purchases less than 10% stakes of the company, and FDI purchases more than 10% stakes of the company. Now that becomes the basic difference between these things. Now, if you want to carry out a current account transaction in India, you want to import or export a particular good, you want to import and export a particular service, you want to get the money out to your parents living in the United States, or you want to get the money in as a remittance, as an interest payment, whatever current account transaction you are doing, you want to give a gift, okay, to someone living abroad. All these current account transactions, we allow current account convertibility. We allow current account convertibility. That means for all the transactions in the current account, we allow the convertibility to happen. We allow the rupee and dollar convertibility. Fine, you want the dollar, if you want to actually do a current account transaction, agar aapko bahar se kuch import karna hai, suppose you want to import gold, now you have to import gold. For importing gold, you need dollars. For you don't have dollars, you have rupees. Now these rupees will be converted into dollars if you want to import gold. Why? Because gold comes in the visible part of the current account. So current account convertibility is allowed in India. 100%, 100% convertibility in the current account is allowed in India, except one exception, that is the 80-20 scheme. 80-20 scheme on gold. The 80-20 scheme simply says that if you want to import gold, if you have imported gold from outside, we will not give you. If you have imported, suppose 100 kilos of gold. So 100 kilos of gold have already been imported. Now, if you want to import for the next time, if you want to import more gold, we will not give you dollars unless out of this 100 kg, you have exported 20 kgs back to the foreign countries. Okay. So you need to export 20% of the imported gold. You need to export that back. Then only you'll get the dollar convertibility for the next consignment. Okay. Now that becomes important for the 80-20 scheme. This is the only exception in the current account, but in the capital account, India does not give capital account convertibility. 100 full capital account convertibility is not allowed in India. We have put restrictions in capital account convertibility, learning from the East Asian crisis from Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia. We saw what happened in East Asia. We saw how these economies plunged into recession because they were actually allowing capital account convertibility. In the capital account, they allowed the FPI to come in, the FDI to come in. The FPI is considered as a volatile investment, fine. So if you are allowing people to invest in your country, and you are giving them convertibility also, they are coming in with their dollars, and you are converting these dollars, and they are taking your domestic currency and investing in your companies. And this investment is precisely your FPI, that is foreign portfolio investment, which is a volatile investment, because the money comes in and they can take it out. They can convert your domestic currency back into dollars and take the dollars out of your economy. Now, this is what happened in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Malaysia. People that had invested money in the stock exchange, they took that money and got it back. Okay, because of that, these economies that allowed capital account convertibility plunged into crisis. Now, this capital account convertibility is not allowed in India in 100%. Why? Because India needs to have some important aspects in place before we allow capital account convertibility. So it's not an event that is out of nowhere. RBI governor will come in and say that we are from now on starting capital account convertibility. No, it's a continuous process. We need to have an inflation rate. There are conditions for that. We need to have an inflation rate of between 3 to 5%. We need to have NPA of less than 5%. We need to have a growth. We need to have forex for we need to have forex for next 6 months. That means we should have that much amount of forex that will actually allow us to import our commodities for the next 6 months. So huge amounts of forex is required for allowing capital account convertibility. Huge, stable inflation is required. Less NPA is required. The Tarapur committee recommendations have given these, these recommendations that in these circumstances, India should allow capital account convertibility. Okay. Now let us get into the question. What is the question? The question is RBI governor recently told us which of the following are the potential benefits of making capital account convertibility. Okay. So you have to give the benefits. Number one, increased liquidity in the financial market. Absolutely. When you allow the capital account convertibility, the money will be getting into the economy. Okay. So when you have more money into the economy, there will be more money into the financial system. Okay. Financial institutions will have more money because the money is pumping in. Okay. That is your first, that is a correct statement. Then you have easy access to foreign capital. Absolutely right. You have easy access to foreign capital. You can go out and get money. Currently, if you have a company and you want to do the external commercial borrowing, you will not be able to do it beyond $750 million. Fine. Even if the bank, suppose Reliance goes to the Bank of England, and a Bank of England is willing to give $2 billion loan to Reliance, but Reliance will not be able to get this $2 billion to India. Why? India does not allow convertibility of this money. India will only allow convertibility till $750 million. Now that means that we do not allow capital account convertibility fully. But if we allowed capital account convertibility, our companies can get cheaper loans from outside. Okay, so there will be no limit like this. So it will be easy access to foreign capital. Then you have, if you allow capital account convertibility, will there be low volatility? No, there will be high volatility. Why? Because capital account transactions, precisely the FPI has high volatility. Therefore, this is a wrong option. Then you have onshore rupee market development, because you will be able to issue masala bonds and rupee denominated bonds that will actually increase the presence of rupee in the international market, in the onshore market. So that is your 1, 2, and 4 is the correct option. 3 is your incorrect. Okay, so option 2 is the right answer. Then you have this is a direct question, question number 70 regarding toy, art, and GI tags. This is a geographical indication tag, and you have to actually select that which of these toys are related to which of these states. Now, Channapatna toys, Karnataka, Kinal toys, Andhra Pradesh, and Edukemy toys of Kerala. Now, the first is actually matched correctly. Channapatna toys are actually from Karnataka only. This is a GI tag that is given to these toys. If you get a toy, this Channapatna toy, these toys, if you get these toys, and they will have a GI tag that will be written in that GI tag that this toy belongs to Karnataka. Fine. Likewise, you have geographical indication tags on other products as well. Kinal toys is not from Andhra Pradesh, it's from Kerala, and Edukemy is from Andhra Pradesh. So this is actually wrong. Both of these are wrongly matched. One only is the right answer. Now you have to remember that recently Prime Minister called upon this possibility that we should actually go for e-marketing of these Channapatna toys across the country and world over. We should actually export these toys to outside. This was actually given in Indian Toy Fair 2021. Now you already know why are we actually focusing on toys. Why I have chosen this question, because the toy industry was broken in India because of the dumping that was done from Chinese toys. Okay, so Chinese toys dump their toys into Indian market. We already know what dumping is. Okay, dumping simply means when foreign country sells its products into our country, into India, at prices that are less than the prices that are prevailing in their own country. Suppose there is a Chinese toy that is selling for 2 units China, that you are selling it in 1 unit in India. So you are selling your own toy at a lesser price in India than the price you have in your own country. That is considered dumping. Okay. So against this dumping, what do we have? We have anti-dumping duties, anti-dumping duties. So that is why I chose this question. Again, you have question number 73, PM Swanidhi. PM Swanidhi ke related, you have to say what are the various correct statements about. पहले PM Swanidhi के बारे में थोड़ा समझते हैं. What is this PM Swanidhi scheme? This was a scheme initiated for street vendors. Why? Because COVID-19 pandemic has actually hampered their development. It has hampered the people. They don't have money. Precisely these street vendors, they have lost their business. Okay, nobody's coming to their shops because of the lockdowns and because of the COVID. Now, because of that only, to support their families, to support these street vendors, PM Swanidhi scheme was launched in the backdrop of novel coronavirus pandemic. Okay, now this is launched in rural as well as urban areas. It is implemented in both rural and urban areas. Now, PM Swanidhi, it stands for Prime Minister Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi. Prime Minister Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. It was launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in 2020. Now, what is the scheme about? The scheme gives microcredit facilities to these street vendors. Microcredit, it just gives up to rupees 10,000, loan to these particular street vendors. If they want money, they will get 10,000 rupees as money. They do not have to give any collateral for that. They can come and just take out money, and that money, if they pay back this money at a particular time, if they pay back in time, then they will get an interest subsidy of 7% also. Fine. So if they are paying back in time, they have taken, suppose 10,000 and they are paying back in time, they will get an interest subsidy of 7% also. And they do not have to give any collateral to take this loan. Now, this was your PM Swanidhi scheme. The scheme was initiated for street vendors affected by novel corona pandemic. Absolutely right. It is being implemented in rural and urban areas. Absolutely right. Both 1 and 2, an easy question. Then you have question number 74, the origin of replication. It was a very easy question. I chose this question because that UPSC is very much loving the idea of this RDT, that is recombinant DNA technology, or genetic engineering, or genetic editing. पे अभी तक 2 बार question आया हुआ है. So you have a questions regarding, suppose you have genetic editing technology, that is TALEN. TALEN is a genetic editing technology in which the genes are edited. Okay, genes are edited. Likewise, you have CRISPR-Cas9. CRISPR-Cas9 is another genetic editing technology. Okay, with these genetic editing technologies, we are in a position to make recombinant DNA. This is a recombinant DNA technology in 1974 that was developed. 1973, developed by Cohen and Boyer. Now, when you want to actually edit the gene, you need to have a particular gene editing technique. But before editing a gene, suppose if there is a gene, suppose you have a gene in place. Suppose this is your DNA. This is your DNA, and what you want to do is you want to add a particular sequence to this DNA. So you have a base sequence in place. Suppose you have a primer and you have 18 to 22 bases, and you want to add this particular gene. You want to add this particular gene to this DNA. For adding this particular gene, this DNA, you need to have, you need to actually add it at a particular point wherein the DNA will be taking up this gene, right, and replicating the gene into the DNA. So that particular point is known as the origin of replication. Okay, origin of replication in here. So origin of replication, you need to have an this origin of replication in the DNA. It's present in the DNA only. So at this origin of replication, you actually come up with a sequence, and that sequence is actually copied into the DNA. Okay, so that becomes a process of origin of replication. It is present in both strands. Okay, it can be present here, it can be present here. So origin of replication is actually meant to actually replicate the genes. For the replication of the genes, you need to have this origin of replication in the host cell. So what was the question? The origin of replication, often heard in the news, is related to 3D printing, space exploration, biotechnology. No. Blockchain technology. No, it's related to biotechnology for replicating the genes. Option 2. Then you have Action mission. Recently, the Action mission was launched. and consider the following statements regarding that. Before doing that, let's see what the action mission was. Action mission is simply a mission in which we want to send, these private citizens into space. Okay. Now, this is not the first time in which we have actually, sent these, in which we have to send the private citizens into states. Russia has been doing it for a long time. So Russia has a rocket by the name of Soyuz rocket. It is a reusable rocket of Russia. So Russia currently, apart from SpaceX, Russia is the only country with a reusable RLV technology. Okay, NASA does not have an RLV aircraft. NASA used to have an RLV aircraft, but they decommissioned it 2011. So United States used to have, this RLV technology, reusable launch vehicle technology. If that is the rocket that is used, can be reused again and again. So United States had that technology, but they decommissioned that rocket and they allowed the private sector to develop that rocket. That is why in the United States, this is SpaceX that is developing this reusable launch vehicle technology, already developed, to be precise. There is Blue Origins of Jeff Bezos that are actually working in this RLV technology. There was Boeing that was working on it. Okay, so SpaceX is actually far ahead than its competitors. It has successfully developed the Falcon rockets, the Dragon rockets. These are RLV technologies, precisely the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. These are the rockets that actually launch up into the space and they vertically land back into the onto the Earth. Now they are developing the Starship. Starship is again a RLV technology, reusable launch vehicle, in which the rocket will go up and it will actually not land vertically, but it will actually has a belly flop landing. It horizontally, it comes down horizontally, and just before landing, it turns back vertical and gets down to the ground. Now that is a development done by the SpaceX. Now SpaceX has a rocket. That is a SpaceX Dragon. In this SpaceX Dragon capsule, it is the Dragon capsule in which we, for the first time in the action mission, we are taking these private citizens to the orbit, just to fly around the orbit and then come back. So that is done for the first time using a commercially built spacecraft. Before that, it was only done by Russia's, government spacecraft known as Soyuz aircraft. Okay, Soyuz was used for that. That is a government-owned aircraft. But now it was the first time that a private company has a commercially built spacecraft known as Dragon of the SpaceX, in which we actually launched these private citizens. Okay. Now, Action Mission is a result of commercial agreement between Action Space and NASA. Action Space and NASA. Until 2019, NASA did not permit ordinary citizens to be launched into the space. Until 2019, from American soil, it finally reversed its stance, stating that missions would help spur growth in the commercial space flight. Okay. Now, this is your action mission 1. This is the first mission to take private citizens into the International Space Station. No, it is not the first mission. It was already done before also by Russia. So that becomes wrong. Then you have, it is the result of commercial agreement between Action Space and NASA. Absolutely right. Okay, that is your correct option. Then you have, this was the last question from me. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you so much, guys, for being so patient with me. God bless you. See you when we have the next discussion on the economic and science portion. Thank you all. Thank you, Raj Sekhan. Thank you, Abhishek, and all others that have patiently been watching this video. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.